Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's going on, everyone, man? It's been a while. It's been a long time. It's been 5 months plus in the making, but we are finally back. Welcome to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel, and with me, I got my guy, Kay. And Heat basketball is finally back. I'm so excited. You know, really not too much has happened in the offseason for the Heat, but that is not the case. That's not the point, all right? We're not worrying about any of that. I know a lot of y'all was pissed. I'm on socials. I see the Heat ain't done much, this, and that. But we don't care, man. I'm not putting nothing below my name. No Heat winning the championship. I don't care. I'm going into this with zero expectations this upcoming season. I don't want to jinx the team because I don't know if me being too positive jinxes them or if I don't know. I'm not going to put nothing on them because I don't know. Maybe I did something to the team last year, and I sincerely apologize for that. All of this being said, Heat basketball is back, man. I'm very excited, regardless of what uncertainties revolve around this team, man. And, before we get into some of these topics, Kay, how we feeling now that basketball is back?
I mean, I guess I got to be the positive person here because you seem to be very, I'm not going to say pessimistic, but you don't seem to have as much enthusiasm about the situation as you tend to, but I guess you sort of explain that as well.
Yeah. I can't screw it up for my team this year.
I understand. I mean, I'm excited, man. I mean, just based on, what we know about the Miami Heat and how they tend to go about fixing their business. You knew that something was going to change this offseason and you didn't quite know how. And you could take that all the way back to last offseason, which we'll get into in a second. Or maybe I'll just kind of bring that up on the back end here. You knew that something was going to change. You just didn't know how. And after they didn't make any moves as far as free agency or transaction wise, you were a little bit unsure how that would happen. But watching them come into this preseason and operate, and then hearing the rhetoric and the foundational information given by Eric Spoelstra to go along with what you have been seeing, for me, it leaves me no other choice than to be excited. And I mean, that's just to answer your question. I'm sure we'll get into the intricacies of why and, to even, why I brought up last offseason and everything like that as we move along.
Right. And one of the guys on this team who I do want to talk about is none other than I feel like someone who's been one of the main talking points in the offseason because every time you saw his name on these, basketball outlet, social media pages, the first thing you see is, the Golden State Warriors want Jimmy Butler. Philadelphia 76ers want Jimmy Butler. All these teams want Jimmy. Meanwhile, you got guys like us who know, the dude ain't going nowhere, And I know some people got their opinions about Jimmy, blah, blah, blah. Trade him to Houston for Tari Easton and God knows what. Trade him to Golden State for Jonathan Kuminga. Shout-outs to our guy, Alex, even though he was stressing the hell out of me these past few days. All these stuff happening here left and right, talking about what should happen with Jimmy. Oh, you know what? Jimmy probably shouldn't even get the extension because he's not worthy of it. And I know some people were shook after seeing those comments made by Pat Riley in the offseason. When truth be told, I think that's just him trying to light a fire under Jimmy because he knows that's one of those guys who you can talk to like that because Jimmy's just been built like that since day one. All of that aside, man, I'm excited to see what Jimmy Butler does because this is a dude who has that type of mentality where he has no problem going out there and proving to the world that, hey, I can do this. If you don't think I can do it, let me go show you I can. If you tell me I can't jump off of a mountain and manage to land, on my legs, being able to land without a single scratch on my body, I'm gonna jump off one right now and show you that I'm capable of doing that, if that makes sense. Like, that's just the type of guy Jimmy is. Like, Jimmy is a psycho, and you love that about him. So that, and then you have the fact that people talking about, oh, will he take it seriously enough, to the point where he even played a preseason game, man. That dude not playing around. He played a preseason game, K. And we not talking about like the last game of preseason, like some teams do, as a little like dress rehearsal, as they call it. We talk about he actually played every game of the preseason, which is such a huge deal because this is Jimmy. We know he does not care about preseason like that, but he went and did it, man. And I'm so happy for him. And I do gotta say, I don't know if y'all watched Starting Five, that Netflix show they put out. And I don't hear about any of the guys they talked about in it aside from Jimmy, aside from maybe Braun, but like, and a little bit of Anthony Edwards too. But aside from that, like, I mainly wanted to hear what Jimmy had to say. But I had to hear mainly what Jimmy had to say. And like, first of all, condolences to him because he does mention in the show that sometime during February of this past season, he did lose his father, which is beyond heartbreaking to hear. But, I know Jimmy, and if there's anyone that's trying to go out there and win that Larry O'Brien trophy, especially for his dad, it's going to be Jimmy. So I'm beyond excited to see what he does this year. How do you feel about him, Kay?
When it comes to Jimmy Butler, I'm never worried, honestly. And I think I've been consistent with this for the entirety of his tenure in the Miami Heat uniform, which was only, of course, dramatically influenced and corroborated, or cemented in with that run through the playoffs several years ago. But like, if Jimmy Butler's on the floor when it matters the most, I trust him. And that doesn't always mean that he's going to be successful, because it's sports, and your team or the team that you think is going to win, or whatever team isn't going to win all the time. But everything is 50-50 in sports, and I trust Jimmy Butler a lot more than most people to get my fair share, his team's fair share of his 50. You know what I mean? If again, sports are 50-50. So when it comes to Jimmy Butler, I never have any concerns as long as it's keeping him healthy. And that's a big part of it. And if you want to, look at him and say what he's doing, or look at the training staff, or everybody got to do better at making sure that this man stays healthy. Look at his teammates. You got to help him out more on the court, do more stuff for him, with him. Make sure that you're there to be physical so he don't have to be as physical. I mean, whatever that means to keep Jimmy Butler as healthy as possible for as much of the season as possible. It's close to 100%, of course, because nobody's going to be 100%, but it's close to 100% as possible. That's all it's ever been about for him, because if he's on the floor, I trust him to make some things happen. And of course, that's, like I said, with his teammates, his GMs, his coaches, helping him, having the pieces on the floor with him, putting him in the right positions to see, and then doing what the hell you're supposed to do when you're put in those positions as his teammates. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the thing, because at the end of the day, when you have a guy like Jimmy, there's always going to be a way. And like I said before, I'm just excited to see what he does, because he has a chip on his shoulder. He feels like he has something he has to prove. It's not only about like winning a championship, but it's about showing guys like Pat and whoever in that front office has been saying like, hey, like, we can see more from you, but we low-key feel like we're not getting it from you. So like, that's the type of motivation a psycho like Jimmy needs, so it's stuff
I
like
cut
that.
you off, bro.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that in your last portion speaking, and I wanted to touch on that. I mean, while there is something to what you said, and that, I think Pat understands that he can talk to Jimmy Butler that way, and Jimmy Butler is one of those type of people that receives that well and reacts to that in an appropriate manner. You know what I mean? He's psycho. Like, that's how he communicates. I also think that, I mean, of course, nobody knows. Well, somebody knows, but I don't know. But I'm just thinking based on history, and just the type of guys they are. I mean, look, man, I would dare say they probably had the conversation already when Pat Riley said those things. I mean, you know, that wasn't news to Jimmy. I think that Pat Riley had almost had Jimmy's, okay to go out and publicly say those things because he had already said them to Jimmy. And that's just one of those things where when you're dealing with two type A personalities, two people like Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley, that it's just how they communicate and how they operate. Not that I'm either of them or on their stature or as great as anything I've ever done as either of them are, but just dealing with other people that are very forthcoming and blunt and aggressive about the way that they speak, and not aggressive as in physically aggressive or mean, but just passionate, so to speak. I can tell you firsthand that that's the way two passionate people speak to each other. Like, it's not all gonna sound nice or polite to people on the outside because they just don't get it.
Right. And like I'm gonna just say this. I mean, like you mentioned, like with guys like Pat and like Jimmy, they're able to mesh with each other so well. And Jimmy said it when he first came to Miami. The reason why he wanted to be with the Miami Heat is because he knew that this Heat culture thing, it fit him to a T, and the fact that he knows that people are gonna hold him accountable and he can hold other people accountable as well, and it's not going to result in something toxic like how it did when he was with other like beta franchises like, what's it called, Philadelphia, where Ben Simmons doesn't like the way how Jimmy's talking to him, or Minnesota. Oh, Carl Anthony Towns and all them, the big purr. He doesn't like the way how Jimmy talks to him about, simply being the star that everyone thought he was capable of being. Nobody,
Hey,
nobody.
brother, don't you ever call him the big purr.
I'm
Why you
sorry,
don't
man.
don't you ever call him that while you are on a show with me? I mean, it was a 3-second delay because I was stunned, shocked, and dismayed. But don't you ever.
I'm sorry. I just feel like the name just fits him so well. I don't know, but like, man, I don't know. But you know what? I ain't gonna say. I was gonna say something else, but like, I don't want to stir it like that. But shout outs to Cat and the New York Knicks, who we might talk about as we get deeper into this episode. But yeah, like. What's good, Alex? Man, we already diving into this. We talking about Jimmy right now, and no, we're not trading him for Jonathan Kuminga. Anyway, but back to what I was saying though, like Jimmy knows he can be able to hold him other people to certain standards and they can hold him to a certain standard as well, and it's not like Chicago where he went and questioned Fred Hoiberg and it led to him getting traded to Minnesota in the first place. Like nobody's gonna do any of that nonsense to him. Just come in here, do what you're capable of doing. Everybody's happy because everybody is trying to sacrifice for the greater good of themselves to help this team win. So I'm excited to see what this guy's got to do. And Alex, I'm gonna pass the mic to you. Like, how do you feel about Jimmy entering into this upcoming season?
What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm late. Was finishing
You
up a
good?
workout with my guys, but hey man, going into this year, I'm excited. I mean, we got Heat basketball starting again tomorrow. In regard to Jimmy, I mean, I've been, Joe alluded to, I've been sending possible trade packages for Jimmy all summer long, but we're gonna pray and believe that God is going to help the Miami Heat and help Jimmy Butler lead the Miami Heat to a championship run. Um, I think I think with us playing five out this upcoming year, like with the offense being a lot more spread out, it's gonna honestly help Jimmy. And I'm hoping that Terry, Tyler, Bam, Jovic, Jaime, like guys, all those guys can step up and take a load off of Jimmy so that in those certain games where we need him to put on the Superman cape, he could have the legs to do so. But if not, then if we rely on him like we have in the past few years, then it's probably gonna be time to start looking at some of them trades.
I'm just saying, man. Like you mentioned it, Alex. Like, listen, I have all my faith in God right now. All right. I believe in God's power, man. I see the types of miracles God has pulled in the past. All right. If God can have Lazarus come from the dead, then I don't know why he can't help the Miami Heat win the championship. All right. If it's in his will, it will happen. Okay. So
Amen. Amen.
all thing will go according to his plan, man. Like what we saw this past season was attack from Satan. Satan works through various people, right? They say Vaughn, what did they say about yeah, was it Vaughn, right? Where they say he was the devil's greatest soldier. Kyle, oh wait, no, am I talking about the right dude? Yeah. Let me tell
You
you
talking about the
something.
right dude, brother? But I mean, why are we talking? But come on, brother.
No, because let me tell you, if
You know
Vaughn
what you
is
about
the
to,
devil's greatest soldier, Kelly Oubre is a devil's second favorite greatest soldier. Okay, he know what he did to Jimmy last year, and you know what? And the Satan might have won that battle, letting the Celtics win that championship. But our God is watching over this right now, and he not gonna let him win the war. All right. Okay, him and Joe Cronin. Well, actually, Joe Cronin is the second greatest soldier of the devil, and Kelly Oubre in third place. Okay, all of that aside, though, we're not letting the devil win. God is watching over us, and He's gonna triumph over all of this, man. And Jimmy's gonna hold up that Larry O'Brien trophy. Because one thing I know is that the devil ain't got no power over none of this stuff. So don't y'all be discouraged by none of this nonsense that happened in the what's it called previous season, man. We gonna get it done. We gonna be all right, okay. All of that aside, though, yes, we got our guy Alex praying for here in case y'all ain't seen the video on here on YouTube. But listen, man, all of that aside, I do want to talk about this next guy in the Heat, and that's none other than Bam Adebayo, right? So we've been seeing some stuff from Bam in the gym this summer, and we've also seen him in the preseason. I know a lot of people got excited because he's been shooting that three ball a lot more than he was doing it late last season, which was crazy. Dudes shooting it in the corners, shooting it, rainbow threes and everything. Like, dude's just out here doing his thing, and I love to see it. And he's also been very vocal, too, about the fact that he should be Defensive Player of the Year. And I know he's been open about that in the past, but, like, you see more and more headlines about it. And I'm happy for him because it seems like now he's getting more moments in the spotlight thanks to him being on Team USA this past year. In case y'all ain't know, he did make Heat history being the only guy to win two gold medals while being a part of the Miami Heat. So shout outs to him. And I mean, also, it also helps the fact that you're dating now the best basketball player in the WNBA right now. So I gotta say that because that gives you more publicity too. Shout outs to Asia. All of that stuff put to the side, though, this seems like this is about to be Bam's like huge breakout year because I really feel like if all goes according to plan, like Bam has had some good years in the past. We've seen him be an all-star and everything. I'm talking about this is the year we finally see him make that leap to finally getting that respect of being considered a what's it called, an all NBA caliber type player. He should have been last year, in my opinion, but that's besides the point. But just being able to get those flowers and showing everyone, yeah, we got Jimmy Butler, but I'm here too, and I'm capable of doing a lot of stuff myself. So all of this being said, I just want to know from you guys, how do we feel about Bam going into this upcoming season? I'm gonna pass the mic to you first, Alex.
So as you can see, I don't even know why I picked the name that I picked up here, but I put Bam for president 2028. But I'm honestly hoping that Bam, like you said, can have a breakthrough. I think with him being able to stretch the floor to the 3-point line now and Spo being comfortable with it, I think that's gonna open up a lot for him offensively. Um, I'm hoping what I think people were talking about him possibly shooting like three threes a game. I honestly hope he shoots at least five a game. Shoot five a game, possibly make 2.1 ish. So that's decent percentage. 2 out of 5 every game ain't bad. Some of them games he gonna get hot. Maybe he'll shoot six and and make 4. You know what I mean? But obviously he's always going to be the elite defender um, that he's always been. I'm hoping that we can have a decent enough record that he can go ahead and get that Defensive Player of the Year award that he has been owed and should have gotten at least in what year was it that we was the 1 seed? 2022. Yeah, he should have got
Yeah,
it.
that
He
was
should
year
have
with
got
the
it that
thumb
year
injury.
when they got it when they gave that jump to Marcus Smart. But we won't talk about that. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Bam. All NBA year loading, um, All Star year loading, Defensive Player of the year loading, and hopefully they can end with a championship. And him and Asia Wilson announcing that they're about to have their first kid.
All right, man. All right. But I agree, bro. I just want to see Bam go out and just hush the critics for once, man. Because this is a guy who, in my opinion, is the third best center in the league. And I think we can all agree on that. And, you know, you got people who continue to sleep on this guy every time he tries to go out there and show people, like, yeah, I'm the best defender in the league. Yeah, I can do this and yeah, I can do that. But nobody wants to hear it because they don't watch these games like that, you know. And Kay, like, what about you, man? Because I know we've had some convos too about Bam and what we know he can do.
I mean, when it comes to Bam, it's just always been about his aggression and the way you hear him talk about it now is he has a self-realization of the fact that he needs to be more assertive when it comes to producing individually offensively. To Alex's point, I think the number is like 5 to 7. And I think I've heard Bam say 5 to 7 per, and I think I've heard Spo say 5 to 7 attempts per. So I'm kind of right there with you. Shooting 50% on 5 to 7 attempts. I can see him making 2 to 3 threes a night easily.
And like it just kind of just makes, I think that just adds a whole other dimension to the offense, you know, once Bam's just out there being able to hit that 3 ball. So all of that stuff put together, it's just great for the squad. And I mean, I love how we didn't even have to dive in too much about Bam because we know what this dude is capable of. Like, this is Bam Monte we talking about, or whatever the nickname is that they put all over on socials. Like, we know what he's capable of doing. And I'm sorry, I got sirens going on around here because the issue is that it seems like Bam about to get robbed of another award because you know how these casuals out here sleeping on him and stuff.
My fault, my fault. Remember when he got robbed of Most Improved Player and they gave that jump to Brandon Ingram?
Man, don't even remind me of that because let me tell you something. Brandon Ingram was the second pick in the 2016 draft, man.
Exactly.
Like, the whole award is messed up right now because who won it last year? It was
Maxie won it last year, but I mean he deserved it.
oh yeah, that's true. He did. Who won it? I think John Morant won it a couple seasons before, right? And like that was pointless. And now some people are, you know, because these people with their parlays and stuff, they're saying that now this year maybe Victor Wembanyama is gonna win it. Like, y'all lost the recipe for this award and its true purpose. You know, like none of this stuff makes any sense anymore now. You know, and I knew it when y'all wanted to give that award to Brandon Ingram over Bam. Some of y'all didn't even think Bam should have been a lottery pick for us. Okay? Y'all didn't think he was good enough to, and even Heat fans didn't think that. They thought we was better off with Hassan than drafting Bam Adebayo. So like the fact that y'all think he didn't deserve it over Brandon Ingram, a guy who we knew should have been a star the second he came to the league and just finally chose 2020 to be an all-star. You know what? I can't do it right now. I got other stuff to get mad about. And Brandon Ingram,
I think that we're going about this all wrong though, because we've all said that we pointed to the lack of movement by this Heat team. So to go in and ask player by player what the expectations are is pointless, because you made a good point, Joel. Even with Jimmy, even though it was a little more meaty, the content, it was much of the same. It was everything we know about him. He just got to stay healthy, and he gonna show up. With Bam, it's the same. We know what it is for Tyler Herro. We know what it is for Duncan Robinson. We know what it is for Jaime Jaquez. Like, of course the development. I don't think that, you know what I mean. and not to poo-poo your man or whatever. I'm just saying, I just think that that's a good point in that there's not really a whole lot of talking to be done about each individual player. And Alex kind of touched on it when he was giving his take on Bam, and I was kind of saving it because I didn't know how you were organizing it. But to just put it out there and move things along, the complete revamp as far as approach to offense, because a lot of people are just going to look at it as playing faster and with more pace, and it is. But effectively, what Spo is there to scrap his need to call a set every time. Spo wanted to make a call every time, it felt like, and not that he's egotistical. I guess that he just felt that was best. But now his call is early offense all the time, and when I need to make a call, I'll make one. It seems like. And of course that'll continue to evolve and develop because we've only seen preseason ball, haven't seen a lick of ball, but just based on what he's doing now, just a total revamp of the offense to institute those easy buckets, those layups, stop taking the mid-range shots. Now they're finally completely getting to the philosophy that every other team in the NBA has seemingly been at for the last 5 to 7 years. Threes or layups, nothing in between. And you're seeing every player being able to execute upon that principle. More importantly, not more importantly, most impressively, perhaps a guy like Tyler Herro, who has lived in the mid-range area, forcing layups in situations where he typically wouldn't take them. So I think that's the most important thing as opposed to like any individual, player. But it was a point that I brought up earlier. This season, you're excited not only for the offensive revamp or whatever, but last season, you think about it, you acquired Terry, you got rid of Kyle Lowry. So that was a whole set of energy that a lot of people will point to, no matter how you feel about Kyle Lowry, just the situation seemed a little eerie. I'm not gonna say seemed, it was, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a dark cloud over the squad. And once they moved him, they did bring in Terry, but it was at a point in the season where it was hard for them to get assimilated. Injuries happened throughout that, him, other people. So you still had that interchangeability and the difficulty in getting everybody assimilated. Well, this is also on the back end of the fact that last offseason was totally in a cross-face crippler by the potential Dame trade. So you were looking at a team that really didn't have any maneuverability throughout last offseason. And you could say they didn't try. Well, they were waiting on perhaps getting, a top 25 guy or top 75 guy that could come in and change and help change the trajectory of last season. And you don't blame them because if it had to work, then we're looking at this totally different. But, hindsight is 2020, but that's what happened. So there was really no real development, from a team perspective last season. Like, even if Spo wanted to revamp or make the offense more exciting last season, I don't know if he would have been able to do it, because if you make that trade or you make that deal, you got so much of those guys moving out and you're bringing in so much new, like so many new parts that it was pretty pointless to try to, because then you left to try to institute a system twice. And then the moving parts might make little nuances of the system differently, or how we're going to, you know what I'm saying? So I just think they were crippled by all of that. And I just think that this season, with everything we've talked about thus far, along with the new offense, along with what we know about guys, along with the development and the young guys, along with the new guys we brought in, which I'm sure we're going to get to as we move along here, I think the most exciting thing is the fact that the Miami Heat just had a chance to actually develop and to continue to try to positively build something in this offseason, when last offseason was so totally hampered or crippled by the pursuit of Damian Lillard. And we also gotta be real. People are trying to poo-poo on the Terry Rozier was our off-season acquisition thing. I mean, look, he was. I know we got him at the end of last season, but we didn't really see Terry fully assimilated, fully engulfed in his system. We didn't see him healthy for a long time. I fully expect a different electric Terry Rozier. We've seen that a little bit in the preseason. And that's another part of what gave me my excitement. I got a little long-winded, but I wanted to put it out there.
Right. And that's the thing, because there are a lot of guys out there, we talk about Jimmy and we talk about Ben, but so many other guys on the squad who, like, we have the potential to see so much from this upcoming year. And I mean, you also bring up guys like our young folks, Nikola Jovic, and then Jaime Jaquez Jr. I mean, shoot, I'm excited to see what both of those guys can bring to this team. And I ain't gonna lie, you know what? Maybe it's just me trying to have hope. I'm also excited to see what Tyler can do as well, man. I know I said the last time I did a pod that I was not going to be the host of this show no more. I wasn't going to, the Heat versus the World wasn't going to be no more if Tyler was still on my team. And I mean, shoot. I mean, yeah, it's tough, but like, you know what? I'm gonna give Tyler the opportunity to correct himself this year, correct himself, make me look wrong. I want to be wrong, bro. Like, I feel like sometimes when we say certain things about certain players, so much fans come in here and think that we love to be right about certain guys not playing good. Like, nah, like we want to be, we want to be stood corrected on these things, because if we are stood corrected and they're playing good, then we're winning because we get to see our team go out there and win a championship. If Tyler can do the things that, we've claimed he's capable of doing, then there's no reason for us to even get a Damian Lillard or a Bradley Beal, because he's supposed to supplement, and not to like a level of a Dame, but at least supplement enough where we're able to go far enough that's needed to potentially bring home that fourth Larry O'Brien trophy. So Tyler, if you for some reason choose to listen to this, man, just prove me wrong. I don't care about, let's forget about everything. Let's forget about that Celtics series. Forget about everything in the past. This is a new season, all right? Year 6 for you. Just prove me wrong. Prove all of us wrong, man. All right. Show that God wanted you on this team for a reason. Okay. Last year I said it was because Satan was, wanting to test me by keeping you on the squad. Maybe it wasn't Satan. I'm not, a prophet. I don't know exactly what is done by the Lord's will and what's done by Satan. So you know what? Maybe this was a work by God, because maybe he sees something big for you for this team. I don't know. Show it to me though. All right.
I put it
Otherwise,
to you like this: one way or another this season, I think there will be some trades made.
oh yeah, I hope so. Listen, I'm gonna say it like this, right? And I said it in our group chat. I feel like if you can have a good season, right? I'm not saying you gotta finish the number 1 seed. You gotta like go up to that level. But if you can finish, and I see some people saying that we can maybe finish a 4 seed, and I like that. You know what? Because seeing those same people crashing out because all we got was Alec Burks saying that we're gonna finish as a playing team, it makes me comfortable to know that now they're starting to get around with this squad. All of that being said, though, not to go on a tangent, if you can just finish good enough to a point where, like, a 4 seed, if you want to be a 3 seed, that's awesome. Anything above that, cool. Go to the trade deadline and try to do like what we did 2020. Like we were able to go on a good run into the deadline, and we went out, made trades to bring in guys like Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, Solomon Hill. And it's not, a blockbuster trade, but we saw how much that move then went on to help us on route to that finals run we went to that season. So I say all of that to say that, yeah, you know what? Maybe we don't get a Donovan Mitchell. Maybe we didn't get, whatever big star is out there. I know some people are trying to flirt the idea that maybe you can go out and get Kevin Durant if things just go out terrible in Phoenix. Even if that stuff doesn't happen, it doesn't necessarily have to be the end of the Heat season right then and there. Just go out, see what's available in the off, not in the off season, in the trade deadline, and go from there. We saw how it helped other teams who's made it to the finals these past few seasons. We saw it last year with who was it? Dallas. They went in and they brought guys like Gafford and all these other dudes, PJ Washington, and we saw how those moves helped made an impact. And these aren't blockbuster players. These aren't all-star players. These are just rotation guys that you're able to put into your system to help your team thrive in the long run. So that's the thing for me. It's like, yeah, I do believe there's trades, and it doesn't have to be for a massive all-star. Just play, if you can be the 3 or 4 seed going into the deadline, that's awesome. Just go out, see whatever rotation players are on the market from some of these trash teams out there. See who's trying to sell their assets, and then see what this team needs by then. You know, we'll be like 30 something games into the season by then. See what you need from those games and from what we've been missing, and go from there. Like, ain't nothing more to it. It's like going to the grocery store, seeing what you don't have, putting it on your shopping list, and just going from there with it.
So where do y'all think this Heat team finished this season? I mean, like, let's get right to it.
All right, I'm gonna jump in. If we keep the same exact team and everything goes perfect, they're not in the play-in. They could, at the highest, I got them four. They'd be in the four to six range. If we keep the same exact team, no
You're not
trades,
really giving me an answer. You're giving me a bunch of ifs and buts. I want you to give me a
That's
direct
the thing.
answer.
Come on, Alex.
Oh, okay. All right.
Be realistic.
I think they're not going to be in the play. I think they're going to be.
What the? You still?
They're going to be six. They're going to be
Okay.
six.
I was about to say this brother just said an answer, no answer, having an answer. All right. Okay.
Six.
All right. So six.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna have the guts, and I don't know, because I don't want to be too positive with this squad. Because, like I said before, I'm worried I'm gonna jinx this team if I do. But I think, why not? Let's be the 4th seed this year. Like, I think if we can just and you know what? Well, actually, I don't know if I want to be the 4th seed. You know what? I'm gonna have the guts and say we get the 3 seed. It does depend, though, if we can make a move at the deadline. I do want to see what we can do, because here's the thing, right?
Hold on. We're gonna circle back around to all of that. Okay. I'm thinking
this
4.
team right now.
I'm thinking 4. Well, right. I'm thinking 4.
4 for this team. I agree. 4, because here's the thing. Here are the teams.
What's your rationale for 6, Alex?
Because if we just go off of what we have seen over the last years or so, that's me going off of. I know Jimmy said that he's gonna be up for more games, but Jimmy old now. Jimmy 35, so he gonna miss a few games. And then, like, yeah, the offense has been revamped or whatever, but like, we ain't really got no killer. So I think that the Celtics are clearly better than us. I think the Pacers' style would probably be able to give them more wins. I think the Knicks are honestly clearly better than us. That's 3 teams right there. I think Orlando defensively was freaking elite last year. So, so I'll put Orlando. Then I got Cleveland, and then us. Like, there's.
So Milwaukee 7.
I forgot about Milwaukee. Drop honestly, yeah. Flip Milwaukee. Put Milwaukee in and drop the Magic, so we can win our division. Yeah, we can win the division, but we're not gonna be home court. That's what I got.
So I was gonna say drop Orlando too to replace for Milwaukee.
So what's your rationale for 3, Joel?
Well, 3 is if we make trades and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
So you got to give me a real answer then. Give 4. Okay, 4. So what's your rationale for 4?
Because, like, and I said this in the our little group chat after the news came out about the Sixers, right? How, like, we're gonna have Embiid and PG missing time. You just can't take anything with these teams for granted. It's like such a wild card where even if you feel like certain teams are better than the Heat, it's like, okay, but it's like, are we counting on them being at full strength and stuff? Like, it's just so much question marks. It's like you kind of have to give the Heat more credit than you feel like they're worth at that point, because clearly the other squads, you can't trust them too. And even my bird chiming in on this stuff, don't mind him, because I don't know, I think, Alex, you kind of irked him with your takes, but like I'm just saying though, but like I think these are the teams who I feel confident in saying might finish with a better record than Miami. Boston for sure. I'm gonna say, let me see. I would probably say New York would be the second team, because I feel like they might be able to be healthy. But then again, Tom Thibodeau is the coach, so who knows? Let's see. I don't know about Philadelphia. That's the team I have my concerns about. I know, Alex, you mentioned Indiana and Orlando. I'm not too bodied on them just yet. That might be a bit of a hard take, especially after the season Indiana had, making it all the way to the conference finals. But I don't know. There's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because of how young they are. I don't know. But like, I'm not able to, I don't know. I'm just not able to take that step with them yet. So I can't, I just can't say they'll finish with a better record than Miami this year. Assuming Miami don't play any games this year like they did last season. So I don't, it's not them. And honestly, maybe Milwaukee. But aside from that, like all these other teams, aside from that, I don't know if I'm missing anyone. But I could see at least just three, at most, at the very least, three teams being better than us. Like all the other teams below Miami that have below us, they have their possibility of being better than us, but there's just so many question marks to the point where it's like I can't even rank them above Miami because I don't even know. Like I don't feel comfortable enough where if I was a betting man and you told me I could earn $1 million by doing a whole standings prediction or whatever, I just don't feel confident enough in placing my money in the idea that all these other teams could potentially finish above Miami. Maybe they do, and I unfortunately stand corrected on that. But like, with all due respect, I could see us finishing the 4th seed because those three teams do have a legit argument over finishing over Miami, in my opinion.
First of all, what's up with you and your infatuation with standing correct or stood correct today? Like, is that what's up? Has that been your lexicon quite frequently as of late?
Listen, man, it's like I feel like every now and then, no matter how confident I get on certain things, I don't know. I feel like I've just be finding myself in a bit of a voodoo type situation where I still get proven wrong somehow, especially when it comes.
I'm not talking about the essence of the word. I'm talking about the usage of the word. You just turning that phrase quite a bit today.
Yeah, because I don't know, because I've just been being still corrected so many. I can't help but use that term because that's how it's been for me lately when it comes to sports.
I understand. My rationale for 4 is pretty simple, man. The Miami Heat annually, almost year in and year out, are a top tier defensive team. The problem has been the offense. For the last couple of years, they've ranked in the bottom third of offense, though. If they can just get to the second third of offense, which is between 10 and 20, that's going to dramatically increase the product that you see on the floor.
Yep.
Especially if they continue to play the same defense, which we expect they will. I think you hit on it a lot, Joe. When you look at the Orlandos, when you look at the Indianas, when you look at the Clevelands, because I still don't believe in Spider when it comes to winning on the biggest stages. Those teams, they haven't proven to us anything yet. Honestly, they've proven to us that they can be competitive, that they can be pesky, but to outright call them better than a team like the Miami Heat that has consistently competed and gotten to Eastern Conference Finals in the last couple of years, that seemed kind of silly to me. You look at Milwaukee and the top end talent that they have. It's kind of like, yeah, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, they are what they are. So you got to respect that. But Doc Rivers is coaching them. So there is something to that. He's a good coach, but he's also Doc Rivers. Anyway, with that being said, I mean, it's just like, we mentioned Philly. I've been mentioning them in the group chat. And of course, you mentioned it, Joe. They already banged up. And that's definitely, you know what I mean? Negative vibes, bad juju. Because in my opinion, I think Tyrese Maxey injured his finger as well, even though he's going to try to play through it. Without those other two guys, that's only going to lead to more pressure being on him. And I'm not calling for it. I'm not trying to put this on him, but that could, you know what I mean? That might lead to him even getting further banged up because he doesn't have those two guys and he's going to be trying to do so much. So, I mean, it's just a situation ripe for the Miami Heat to definitely get in that top four. And when you're talking about those other teams, you're looking at, you know what I mean, your Boston, you're looking at your Milwaukee's, you're looking at, you know, other teams that you expect to be right up there near the top of this conference. Of course, the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics is kryptonite. And though, you know, they won it all last year, and you look at them and say they have outright more talent, in my opinion, it's been the depth of the Boston Celtics. They can throw waves of guys at you. And yeah, they have their Jason Tatums and their Jaylen Browns or whatever. But it's the depth, the other quality guys behind them that they can throw at you. And when you look at what the Miami Heat has done in the last season and the offseason or so, they provided themselves with quite a bit of useful depth. Not just depth to have guys on the bench, but a lot of these guys should, can, and I'm assuming will play when it matters.
Right. And like overall, like you look at it for the squad, I mean, for the Heat, man, like you mentioned, Kate, like the offense was just so bad last year that I don't think people understood how much that despite how good our defense was, it just held back the whole squad, like altogether when it came to our success. So like you mentioned, like the fact that if you could just get it up to not even being like the best offense in the league, but at least just bring it somewhat up to a certain
Right.
extent.
And that's why I didn't say the top third. I just said the middle third. If you could just
Exactly.
get it, just don't be between 20 and 30. Jesus.
Exactly. Like as long as you're able to bring it up and just be okay, at least you're just in the middle of the pack, like that's good for the squad to the point where you're still able to contend with some of the best teams in the league right now. And
Because your defense is so good that you're going to keep them from hitting their averages.
exactly. And as long as you got a guy like Spo who can easily outcoach any team in the league right now, what we have to fear, you know, like that's the thing. So I know everyone is scared about injuries too, because obviously that played a huge part in last season, man. But like, you know, it's gonna happen, and you know, there's no way to avoid it. But you know, God's watching over our team, man. God is gonna watch over us, and He gonna provide. All right. So, you know,
I mean, I guess, look, man, there's not much more to say, but let's just get ready to tip it off. Let me ask you this I guess, unless you got something else to add. How do you see the Heat going through their first 10 games? Let's look at their first 10 games real quick.
yeah, I actually don't know. I know we play in Orlando and then whoever. I'm not
Yeah,
even trying to get the whole
I know they
schedule.
had. Oh no, that's the fact. I know they have Orlando to open up on Tuesday or whatever, but I'm pulling up the rest
Do
of
each game one by one, and I'll take it one game by game with you. So like do my 10 game overall. What do I see happening?
Okay.
So Orlando's the first one.
Trying to get it pulled up here. So we got Orlando.
So wait, stop right there. So we'll do it one by one. So Orlando.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Orlando tomorrow at 7:30.
We're playing at Orlando, or
It is at Kaseya Center.
I'm gonna give us the win for that one. 1-0.
Absolutely, I agree with you. 1-0. Then you have the Charlotte at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte.
2-0.
Absolutely. Then you have the Detroit Pistons coming into Kaseya.
3-0.
Absolutely. And then you welcome the New York Knicks into Kaseya.
We need a statement win. You know, I think last year one of the main issues, we didn't collect too much statement wins, which was like a huge thing for me.
That was the team I was forgetting. They slipped my mind. Look, man, the Knicks had a glorious run. Jalen Brunson is amazing, but he's still little. Teams have had all off season to prepare for that little dude. Cat ain't as good as people want to make him seem. Them Villanova dudes, they all right, but they ain't nothing like super duper special. Like people trying to make it seem they're going to be a good little team, but to say they're going to be the world beaters that everybody thinks that they're going to be, I don't think so. Now they have the opportunity to prove me wrong, and they'll probably come out and run the Boston Celtics out of the building on ring night. But I got to see it over the duration of a game. So I'm going to go ahead and say 4-0 at that point. I'm with you. I'm thinking that they knocked the Knicks off on October 30th, the night before Halloween, at 7:30 p.m. in the Kaseya Center.
Yes, sir.
On Pat Riley Court, might I add.
Pat Riley Court. A legend. Flowers, love it.
Absolutely. 3 days later, that Saturday, they're going to Mexico, Mexico City to play the Washington Wizards.
5-0.
5-0.
Best, and you're playing Washington. Give us that 5-0 record.
5-0. So then you come back home 2 days later on the following Monday to play the Sacramento Kings. Okay. What are you saying?
Because you see, I do want to be realistic.
Me
You
too.
know,
Me too. Me too.
but so we're playing because we've been playing a lot of games. Miami. It's just gonna be in Sacramento. Well, I don't know. 'Cause I don't
No,
think,
this is in Miami.
yeah, because I don't think they would do a West Coast trip that soon. But I'm gonna say 6-0. Screw it.
I'm gonna say 6-0 too. Yo, it's crazy. But see, here's where it get tricky. Because you got the Suns that Wednesday, you got the Nuggets that Friday, and then you got Minnesota that Sunday. And you know, all of those games are on the road. And in Minnesota is always tricky for us. In Denver is always tricky for us. And the Suns, like I told you, I don't know if I'm not putting this on them. I'm just projecting. Like how long Bradley Beal can stay healthy is of supreme interest to me. But through the first 10, 15, 20 games, I expect them to be healthy. So they're going to be a tough out. So, I mean, while I expect us fully to be 6-0, because that's what we had when we get to Sacramento, right? After Sacramento, 6-0, right?
Yeah.
We're going to lose one or two of those games.
Oh, for sure. Denver's going to be one of them.
Yeah. Okay. So we 6-1 at Denver, and we're going to lose either to Phoenix or Minnesota.
Yes. If I had to pick, I'm going to say we beat Phoenix and we lose to Minnesota.
Yep. We 7-2.
Or you know what? Maybe, or well, you know what? Just make it interchangeable because, or maybe it goes the other way around. We lose.
I put it to you. That's what I was about to say. I put it to you like this. We won't pick because for all we know, we'll mess around and beat Denver. But at the same time, what'll happen is, you know, we'll still end up out of that stretch 7-2.
Right.
Because
either we beat Phoenix, lose to Minnesota, or we end our streak of like not being able to win at Minnesota.
But that's the same thing we have with Denver too.
But you see, Denver's altitude is no joke. Like, did you see how Terry Rozier looked in that game against?
Hey, brother, I agree. But I mean, hell, at some point we gotta get over the hump, right? Or the proverbial mountain in this case.
I don't know, man. Like the last time we beat them in Denver, Obama was still in office, dog. Like we've had two other people in the White House since.
You mean Joe Biden was not wearing a Depend?
Like I don't know, bro. Like it just. I know I should put too much on the altitude, but
7-2. We're 7-2.
Yeah.
So 7-2. So we knock off Orlando 1-0. We knock off Charlotte 2-0. We take care of Detroit 3-0. We beat the Knicks for a statement win early 4-0. We handle the Wizards in Mexico City. That's 5-0. Hey, we feeling good about ourselves. We come back to Kaseya and knock off the Kings for 6-0. We got a 3-game West Coast swing. Well, we thinking we go 1-2. We end up 7-2 coming out of that 3-game West Coast swing, where our 10th game is also our first game of the in-season tournament, where we head to Little Caesars Arena to play the Detroit Pistons.
Man, 8-2. Come on now.
8-2? 8-2. 1-0 in the in-season tournament. 8-2. On the first 10 games, I mean, I don't think that's wishful thinking. People are going to look at it and say we homers, we optimistic. At the very least, the Miami Heat are going to go 7-3.
Yeah, maybe we fall short to New York. Maybe that ends up happening.
Or the Kings.
That's true too.
That New York game, man, I think that they're going to be so up to play these dudes for a myriad of reasons. Jimmy's leg probably is just getting right from what Josh Hart did to it 2 years ago. So, like, there's so much there. And I'm sure the Miami Heat, you know, see all of this, you know, kerfuffle and all of this stuff that's being put on their name, like they that already and haven't played a bounce of a ball together. You know, what you call that dude earlier that I told you never call him again?
Say again?
What you call that dude earlier that now play for New York that I told you never call him again?
Oh, Big Purr?
Yeah. So, I mean, that dude, traditionally, man, the Miami Heat, you know, always have a little something extra when it comes to physicality for him. So they'll have their mind right, have their body right, have their game right, and it's early. So everybody should be healthy. I really think that they're going to knock the Knicks off. So it could either be that one or the Kings game, though. But as we're both saying, we're thinking 8-2.
If not 7-3, and we can
7-3 at worst, and we can live with that, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Same thing, man. It's gonna be a fun season. Any final words before we wrap this up?
Nah, man. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. So with that all being said, man, thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode of Heat vs. the World. Make sure to follow K on Twitter at K_said_kid. Make sure to follow Alex on Twitter at _CoachLewis1. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Make sure to follow Heat vs. the World on all platforms at HVTW Podcast, man. We got so much stuff headed y'all way this season. I know it's been 5 long months. Thank y'all so much for hanging in like this, man. I know it's been crazy, dog. Been dealing with some stuff behind the scenes, man. But I love y'all so much, dog, because at one point I didn't even know if I was ever going to come back to this, but y'all continue to show support to the content, man. And, like, you know, I knew I had to come back eventually. So I'm so blessed to be back here doing my thing, man. And, like, I can't wait to see what the Miami Heat do. I know it's going to be a stressful season because that's what the Heat have been capable of doing. You know, even in our best years, we still have our...
man. It's going to be a It's going to be a non-stressful season. Heat going to win 50+ games. It's going to be lovely.
Love it. So all of that being said, man, let's have a fun year. We got so much stuff headed y'all way. Heat vs. the World, Biscayne breakdown, man. Don't miss any of it because it's going to be a fun one. Aside from that, man, hit my music because we out. Let's go Heat. Let's go 8-2, man.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.